Welcome back to The Play is the Play. This is going to be a special episode. It's our final one. No guests, no play is the play, just me. And we're going to do a little reflection on what we have talked about. We've talked about our purpose. We talked about our preparation. We talked about what we have learned. And a couple of our topics, we've discussed mentoring, how important it is to our officials. We've talked about family, and how for all of us as referees, it's very, very important that we have family to balance out what we do and who we are. We've talked about, I've had my leaders come on and they just had a conversation as far as what type of referees we are, what type of people we are, and where they really, really believe that women's basketball is going and how much women's basketball has grown. We've talked about basic referee school and how valuable it is that we continue to train and develop our officials moving forward. We've had a conversation about the tough call, the tough play, having that intestinal fortitude to be able to make those decisions in the moment, but having those discussions and having those talks with all of my guests has been tremendous. And we're just going to reflect and just have some fun.
This podcast is intended solely for educational and discussion purposes. The content shared within this program is not meant to embarrass, criticize, or humiliate any official, coach, team, conference, or fan. Our goal is to educate, inform, and promote a deeper understanding of the art and the profession of officiating, providing insight that benefits all who love and support the game.
All officials need all the help they can get.
Yes.
We need all the information we can get. Matter of fact, I wish to God that we would have had tape like they have now.
Yeah.
Where I could have improved on my mistakes.
Right.
And I know I made mistakes. The hell, I had enough coaches yelling at me, so I had to be making mistakes. Yeah.
Right.
But I wanted to remember some of those mistakes, you know?
Right.
But yeah, but I mean, that's something that, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about, let me say this to you, not as a supervisor. Remember at your retirement, I told you about the 5 Ps? That goes with officiating too. Yeah, the 5 Ps of life, that goes with officiating too. Prior planning prevents poor performance.
You know, in talking about mentorship, I had 2 guests early on this season that I had on. I had, first of all, my first mentor, Bobby Mozee, he was my high school assigner. And you know what? This man actually taught me early in my career to have someone in your corner. And, you know, what I've learned with Bobby Mozee is that I didn't realize that he took a lot of heat and a lot of flack because I was a really young referee. But you know what? He didn't allow having the veteran, the old guys, that old school mentality to allow him not to give me my opportunity. And what he told me was he realized that I had the talent, I was dedicated, and he knew that I was up for the challenge. And I think for all of us, and it's interesting, even for myself now being a coordinator, that I took a lot of things that he instilled in me, not only as a referee, but as a coordinator, because you actually, yes, do I feel like we have to look at the experience of a referee to know that we want to put them in situations where they're going to be successful. But we also have to know that if I feel confident that a referee is ready to go out and they're up for the challenge and they have studied, they have trained, they have shown the discipline, they have shown the intestinal fortitude, that they should be given the opportunity. And I think that was something that I've really learned from Bobby Mozee. Now, when we're talking about Chris Dawson, this woman literally was my first administrator. And I can honestly say that I was so intimidated when I first met her. But what was so great about Chris Dawson is that I learned so much from her. She's a true professional. She understands our game with women's basketball. She just was so supportive of our officiating program. And having her in my corner and me being able to learn from her taught me so many things in my leadership style. So, for me personally, I know how valuable it is to have mentors that you respect, or just have mentors that have so much respect in our women's game. And I've been extremely fortunate. And also in that, looking at my staff, I have some mentors in my group with VP12 they're just tremendous. They have mentorship programs. They have sessions where the referees get together. They talk once a month. So what I have passed down to VP12 and what our referees do for each other has just made our program and made the growth of our officials so much better. And I believe that it is so extremely important that we all have a mentor or be a part of a mentor group, because you have to have that unbiased opinion of someone who is going to be so honest with you. Not to say that they're going to try to hurt your feelings, because that's not what this is about. But we know that you have to have someone in your corner that's going to be totally honest so that we all grow in the manner in which we want to develop.
Yeah. It is strange. It is strange. And probably when you think about that, coming from where we come from, all right, from the city that we come from, things that we've seen growing up, the obstacles that we had to endure, just getting from point A to point B a lot of times.
Man.
We aren't supposed to be where we are right now. So that's just, that's God all around. That's just God.
Absolutely.
I do think that there have definitely been challenging moments, but other than that, I don't feel like anything's been really hard. But maybe that's just the two people that we are, and or the fact that we made that was set in our brains that whatever it was, we were just gonna be okay about it. It was gonna be fine. We're gonna work through this anyway.
Reflecting on family and officiating is so extremely important. And I think for all of us, what I've learned, and I think what I have shared with my officials, is that, you have to have that support system. Because what we do, referees, it's a tough business and we take a lot of abuse. And going forward, you have to know that you have to have a significant other that supports you, that understands what you do, that understands that you're on the road, that understands you may come home and you may not be in the best mood because you had that tough play and you had a rough night of sleep. So it's always good to know that who your husband, who your wife, who your significant others, who they are is extremely important. I think the other thing that I found out, I've been extremely blessed in my career. I've had my brother who, again, like myself, he's in sports, he's an assistant coach. And I think for him, he's just kind of given me that perspective of what a coach feels like. So it's really helped me in my leadership style that when I'm listening to coaches, to just take their perspective into consideration, just learning a lot about what coaches do. I've had those conversations with my brother. Looking at my nephew, Juan Versher, he was another one. He was on the professional side, being on the entertainment side as a Harlem Globetrotter. And I think with him, I just learned how you have to have that dedication. For him, he talked about being on the road, being away from your family. And all of us referees, that's what we deal with every single day. Having our spouses, our significant others that understand what we do is so important, because it will help us when we get down on ourselves to have someone to lend us that ear that can help us get through to get to the other side of how we're feeling. I've had a great guest of Scott Osborne, and here's a young man that he grew up around officiating from being a little kid, because his mother and his father were officials. And he just shared how he didn't know that he was actually going to get into officiating, but once he got bit by the bug, all those little bitty things of him following his dad, him being in the locker room, him understanding how you had to prepare and how you had to study and watching video. He was a young kid being in the locker room, watching crews have pre-games from a kid's perspective. But with all that being said, he still had to learn it on his own. He had to figure out that once he got bit by the bug, he had to have the dedication. He had to have that work ethic. He had to know that he had to study and watch video, because understanding the game, knowing that being fundamentally sound, getting in your rule book, getting in your mechanics manual is so important, because for all of us, that's what matters. That's what's going to make every single night as a referee how you know you're going to go out and you're going to work hard. And you have to do it, and you have to have the dedication every single night. You can't turn it on and turn it off. You have to know that every time you put the shirt on and you go out and referee, you're putting your career on the line. And if you have good habits, you create good habits, you're fundamentally sound, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do a really, really good job. So I just have to honestly say, with having my guests and talking about family and what it meant to them was so important. And it's so important to referees. And I think it's something that for you viewers and for our referees, you just have to know that what we do, it matters, but we have to have our family. You have to have that support for us to go out and just to be able to go out any night in and night out and get the job done.
What I say to that,
Right.
and I had a talk with another young referee, is you have to take care of yourself, and you better do what's best for you, and make sure that you are 100%, because you care about you. You have to make yourself 100% whole before you can go back and offer, because that game is going on without you. That play is going on without you. So don't try and
Great point.
They don't care if it's
Great
you
point.
or someone
You are
else there.
we had a tough conversation. And, a lot of times in officiating, we don't really talk about our injuries. We don't talk about overcoming things. And, it was such a great episode, perseverance with Kim Hobbs. And in those discussions, and I have to commend her, because she was open and willing to share in her journey of rehab, and I know it was tough. We actually, at the time when I did her episode, we actually put the play up and watched how when she went down. And I have to commend her, because I know how hard that was. It's hard to look at it. I can honestly have that discussion about myself, being someone who, have been injured in games, but to be able to really share the rehab and share, fighting through and being able to come back and the perseverance, because it's really, really difficult for a referee when you have an injury and you go down. You got to rehab, you got to work yourself back into it, you got to come back slow, you have to take your time. And it's one of the hardest things for any referee to do. But what I really, really loved about Kim is that she was able to put herself out there. She was able to be vulnerable. She wasn't afraid to show the world that referees are human. We're athletes, just like the young men and women that we referee night in and night out. And we're not immune to being injured, because every night you go out, you take that chance of something happening to you. But it's how you come back. And for most of us, like in Kim's instance, she showed us that we will all persevere. We will all work through it. We will all get better. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, we come back better than we were before we got injured.
Crew chemistry is really what can separate a good crew from a great crew.
Absolutely.
And you can sit there and, if you've ever worked a game where, the communication was great, the rotations felt natural, and, your crew just had your back, you know what that feeling is like, what that chemistry really feels like. And, you know, coaches sense it, right?
They do.
And
A
players
lot.
sense it, the crowd senses it. And it makes for a good flowing game, when the crew is together.
We had a great episode on crew chemistry. And, Alecia Murray, my 6-footer, that's my little nickname for her. I have to say that, I just love her philosophy and the way that she approaches her crews. And, I would always have young officials come back and they're always so excited to work with her because she just does a good job of being inviting, of allowing her. It doesn't matter whether she's working with veteran referees or whether she's working with maybe a less experienced referee. She just does a great job of making them feel comfortable, doing those little things, doing the little things before the game even starts by reaching out to her crew, saying, hey, you guys want to get together? You want to meet at Starbucks before the game, even before they get in the locker room to have their pregame. And what we don't realize is that crew chemistry and allowing the referees to be comfortable amongst each other, when you do that, and once you get into the locker room to have your pregame, everyone is more comfortable. They feel invited. They feel like they're a part of the team. And with her, I just thought it was a great example of showing that, you know what, just because you're the crew chief and you're the leader, it's not all about you. It's all about the team. It's about bringing people together. It's about making the crew feel comfortable, because we want to remember, as the crew chief on every single game, being that referee, your ultimate goal is to get the best out of your crew. And that's bringing them together. That's empowering your crew. That's not being a dictator. That's listening. That's wanting your crew to give their opinion. You want to have a pregame where you can ask questions, where your crew feels comfortable to be able to voice their opinions. And I think the session with her did exactly that. It showed that, you know what? A crew chief doesn't have to be a dictator. A crew chief can be inviting. They can make their crew comfortable, because your ultimate goal is to get the best out of your crew that
I have to say thank you, because with, I think one of the few things positive for me that came out of COVID was the ability to have the opportunity to work for you and then work my way into a full-time contract. And, you took a chance, and I have to thank Wendy Daly for that, because I believe she was the one who passed along my name to you,
she
along with
did.
the others.
Mhm.
So I certainly, there were people you need to thank along the way who looked out for you, and she was one of them.
We had a tough COVID year. And a lot of viewers didn't know, what was going to happen with the COVID year. And for me, I was very fortunate. We had some issues up in the Bay Area, and I had to hire some, I guess you could call them part-time referees. And for several of them, they did a really, really nice job, and they were able to get a job out after COVID was over for the next year. And one of those referees was Kathleen Cassidy. And really what I loved about her was she didn't just say, I'm only going to receive my games for the moment. She took advantage of it. She literally did so well that she was able to get hired for the next year. And not only doing that, she continued to grow and develop and receiving an opportunity for postseason play. So here's a referee which we can show our viewers that it's about opportunity. It's about being ready. It's about stepping up to the challenge when you receive your opportunities. I had another official, Erica White. She was another one. We had some difficulties in Texas with the weather, and I couldn't get any referees to Texas. It was impossible. The flights had the airports had shut down, and I literally had to, bring in a referee that wasn't on staff. But how about this? Again, we're going to talk about opportunity. Erica White stepped in. She worked the game. She did so well, she ended up getting hired and getting put on staff the next year because she took advantage of the opportunity. And I think that what that episode really showed our viewers, that it's about being ready. It's about not complaining about the number of assignments you got, about that you didn't get, you wasn't a referee in this game, or you didn't get the call for the big game. Throw that out. How about every single time you go out and you work is an opportunity for you to take advantage of that situation? And I think for most of us, we tend to let those opportunities slip through our fingertips versus taking on the challenge, being prepared, being ready, that when the opportunity presents itself, you're prepared, your preparation is ready, and you're ready to step up. And I think those were the key components to opportunity and readiness, where we gave great examples for our viewers and for young referees to learn that take advantage of those opportunities and stop complaining about what you're not getting.
You can't put a dream in a microwave. You know, you have to take the steps in order to be successful. And again, there's no elevator to success either. You have to take the stairs, stair by stair by stair. And you may
The hard way.
you may fall,
Yep.
but as long as you get up, you're gonna live to fight another day. You know,
There you go.
your eyes on your own sheet of paper. You know, everyone's journey is different. My journey was different.
We had a great episode on branding and branding yourself as a referee and just being a true professional. And what a lot of our viewers didn't know is that not only do we want to brand ourselves as referees and want people to just know who we are, because we have some very, very powerful people in their professions. You know, we have law enforcement, we have teachers, we have principals, we have administrators, you know, we have people that are high in the tech world. And what we showed is that as professional as they are in their personal life, they're even more professional in their referee life. They want to every night prepare themselves. They want to make sure they take the time to be ready. They want to make sure that they get their rest. They want to make sure that they're traveling and getting in the cities where they need to be. We want to make sure that every single night we go out and we're that ultimate professional, that we study, that we're ready, that we're on top of our game, that we're getting with our crews, because those things are extremely important. You know, it showed that we have to communicate. They have to communicate with me because their schedules can sometimes be really, really difficult. But as long as we have an open line of communication and you're honest with me as a school teacher and you tell me, hey, boss, you know what? You know, during the week, I can't travel, you know, on Thursdays, but on Saturdays, I'm available to go wherever you need me to go. But again, as a referee and showing our young viewers that you have to be that professional, you have to know how to communicate. You actually have to make sure that your supervisor has all these pieces to the puzzle to be able to give you the best schedule you can have. And even going back to the branding and being that type of referee, because when you're branding yourself and you step out on that court and you go out every single night and you're a true professional, coaches and players will buy what you sell. Because one thing you have to understand, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good a play caller you are, how good you can control the game, how you can go out and just make sure, dot the I's, cross the T's. If coaches and players are not believing what you're selling, you're not going to be successful. So for us, it's night in and night out of being a professional, showing coaches and players and administrators that we go out every single night. This is who we are, and we're going to go out and give 150% every single night.
So we know that there's probably about 100,000 officials in high school basketball or across the country. That's kind of an estimate. We have a known number of 80,000, and that's based on 46 states. There's some very large states that don't track that data. So we're estimating about 100,000. We know that Division I men's and women's has about combined 1,700 officials.
Right.
Your chance of becoming a Division I official is like 1.7%. So
look at those odds. Right.
Like those odds, like if you think about that, be appreciative of the level that you're at.
You know, having Dana Pappas, it was awesome because, you know, she gave such a different perspective, because for all of us, we come from the high school level. Most Division I referees started doing high school. You work your way up, you know, high school, JUCO, Division III, Division II, Division I. And I think what was key to what, you know, having Dana on is that we're doing our best to continue to train and develop and show young referees that they have to be a true professional, that this is a profession that they're getting into, and to know that not every referee wants to be a Division I referee. We have some referees. I know I have plenty of referees that come to camp and they say to me, Violet, I'm a high school referee, and I enjoy high school, and that's all I want to do. I just want to continue to grow as a high school referee. And I think what Dana and I did, we actually showed our viewers that that's okay. And we are fine with that. And all we want for referees to do is to be professional, to continue to train, and know that the high school game deserves no different what the college game deserves. They deserve effort. They deserve professionalism. They deserve that you go out every night and work the mechanics. You know the rules. You're a professional. You do the best you can with communicating with coaches and administrators and players. And if we do that, that will elevate our high school game. We have to continue. We have to have camps. You know, I started my ground floor with basic referee school because I felt like in watching high school games, something is lacking. So for each one of us, we have to take it upon ourselves that we have to show the high school level that we haven't forgot about them. It's important that we continue to train even on our lower levels. It's not just on the Division I level. We have to still train and develop and have the discussions to teach our younger referees, our less experienced referees, that it is important that the high school game deserves 150% every single night. And a lot of our discussion for us referees, we have to understand that there's certain things we do every single night that are automatic. And if you're a referee and you don't know your rules, you're not going to be successful. If you're a referee and you're not in your manual, and knowing the manual, knowing your court coverage, seeing it every single night, watching video, and not watching video for validation, watching video to see where the mistakes were, what you need to critique for yourself. Being your worst critic is so extremely important because without that preparation, without that work ethic, you're not going to be a successful referee. We have to know that every single night we trust the fundamentals. We have to call the obvious. We have to work on angles every single play. We cannot take plays off. We cannot take nights off. And if you create good habits as a referee, as the manual, as our rule book states, then you will be successful. But that's something that each individual referee has to do for themselves. No, I can talk about it till I'm blue in the face. But if you don't own it yourself and go out every single night and prepare and learn and study and listen to your mentors and have these conversations with your crews, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So it's extremely important every single night that we train, we develop, we work at it, we prepare ourselves for every single opportunity that comes up. And you still have to know that we're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect, but we're going to learn from those mistakes. And we're going to store the good tools in the back of our head and know that when we're in situations and we're in games, that's when those tools are going to be able to come out. So I say to each one of you, continue to train, continue to work on that preparation, and continue to go out every single night and give our game 150% because the game deserves it. Those players deserve it. And that's the only thing we can give the game. And we do that, all of us will be successful. You know, we've, of course, in all of our episodes, we had the players to play. And if referees call me all the time, they go, "Oh my God, boss, what great nuggets that we get from our plays, you know, our players to play episode on our podcast." And I think the one thing that you have to remember with studying and watching video is that it is the backbone to who we are. And if you're a referee and you're not studying every single game, every single play, and being your worst critic, you're not going to be successful. But the one thing is you have to look at your video and do those little bitty things. It's not about whether or not you got the play right or wrong. We can all do that. That's the easy part. But mind you, you want to look at what your eyes are. You want to make sure that you're position adjusting. You want to make sure that you're in your primary, that you're calling the obvious, that you're putting your eyes where they need to be in certain situations, that your floor coverage is good, that your eyes are where they're good, that you're having an accelerated pace when you're going from the strong side to the weak side, where you know you need to get over and get to the post play. But if you're not watching video, you're not going to be able to correct those small issues that you're finding, those bad habits that you're having in games. So for us, that's what the play is about. It's about studying the plays, making sure that the calls are coming from the official that's supposed to, that's their area of coverage. That's their primary. So for us, it's the little bitty things. It's the good habits. It's being a professional. It's knowing that every single night there's something you can learn from on your own personal video. You can learn individually, you can learn as a crew, you can learn as a leader, and it has nothing to do with whether or not you're a veteran referee and you're in the Final Four, or you just got on the staff and now you're trying to learn. It doesn't matter. Every single night, you look at your plays, you watch video, because you know that film breakdown is the backbone of who we are and where we're going. We've had such a great season and we're at the end. And now it's that best time of the year. And, when we get to conference tournaments, the NCAA tournament, this is where you can watch the best of the best. It's incredible. But here's what's great. Because we have done all this preparation, going through the season and having these discussions and talking about mentorship and leadership and being a professional and branding, and all of these things take us into that postseason play. And this is the most exciting time of the year. I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing the best of the best. I look forward to seeing us step up to the challenge. And I know we will do well. We will have those good habits because we've been doing them all season. So we look forward to watching conference tournaments, watching the NCAA tournament. And with that being said, after that, we move right up. The work doesn't stop, because after conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament, now all the work starts all over again, because now we're going to get into basic referee school. We're going to get into the camp season. And now we know that it's time for us to go back to the drawing board and have those hardcore discussions on ways we can improve our season. So now we're going to get back to camp. We're going to get back to our discussions. We're going to get back in the classroom. We're going to come back together and have our discussions and try to do a better job of being better in work on us as individual and work on us as crews, and even work on us as a total conference with us all being together. So we're going to look forward to the summer after the season is over, starting to do the work, because the work just starts all over, and we're going to get ourselves in the preparation to start this next season going forward. And when I tell you that I look forward to next season, you know what? This has been an incredible time. And I know that going forward, we are going to continue to call the obvious, work on our preparation, learn from we're going to learn our lessons, and just try our best to grow as individual, as crews, as a staff every single night. But one thing I want all of us to know, that you have to continue to work, you have to continue to prepare, and you have to continue to study. And always remember, when it's all said and done, the play is the play. Peace out. See you guys next season.